signalling woke claptrap. Let's talk to social commentator Russell Quirk. Hello, Russell.
Kevin, I've got my head in my hands here as usual, I'm afraid.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Now, in terms of now, this is to celebrate diversity and inclusion. So people feel excluded, apparently, by the term "ladies and gentlemen." Now, you're a gentleman. I'm loosely. I could loosely be described as a gentleman. I feel offended that I will no longer be addressed as a gentleman by British Airways. What are they going to do about that?
Yeah, I must say it's not that often I'm called a gentleman, but when I am, it's quite a compliment. It's quite nice. We're on that slippery slope again, Kevin, aren't we? And of course, you know where all this leads to, where it is leading to, is kind of straight out the book of gender neutral toilets and goodness knows what else, where, we're going to have dirty old men sharing toilet cubicles with my teenage daughters. A future Olympics maybe where, we have men and women having to compete directly together because, of course, we don't want to offend people that are neither men nor women. And the amount of people apparently in the world that identify as non-binary, or I guess the correct term is that they don't identify as anything, because you can't identify as non-binary, really. You can only kind of not identify.
Well, I think they do, though, don't they? Like to say that that's a big phrase, isn't it? Anyway, you were saying how many? It's
only 1% of the world's population, apparently. Okay. So British Airways, basically, and the kind of woke preemptive apologists, because that's what this is. This is woke preemptive apologists at British Airways are trying to, or are forcing us all to be politically correct so as not to offend the 1% by inconveniencing the 99%.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And as I said at the outset, Russell, what would be your estimation of the number of complaints from customers and passengers that over the years British Airways has received complaining about the use of the term ladies and gentlemen? My estimation is 0.
Yeah, I think it's probably precisely none. And at the beginning, Kevin, when you read out the statement from British Airways, did they actually say a spokesman says?
Was that your word? No, to be fair, it says this is a story written on the Daily Mail's website.
That would be quite
a BA spokesman. Yeah, it should be a spokesperson, I suppose.
Spokesperson.
But
also on that basis, what else do we have to get rid of? I did a little list, actually. So we're going to have to get rid of Manchester, because it starts with the letters MAN. Yeah. Manifest, manufacture, manual, manhole covers, manhandle, and even human, because human's got man in it. So we're going to have to get rid of all of these words.
So to go back to that point, no one will have complained about the term ladies and gentlemen. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, why would a big organisation like British Airways do this? As you say, if anything, this announcement is likely to irritate and annoy many of their customers. I would suggest the majority of British Airways customers and passengers will be irritated by this stupid wokery. So my question is, they must be aware of that. Why are they doing it? Why do they feel the need to say this? They could have not said anything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess that like a lot of these big organisations that get kind of they get pressured, particularly by the kind of the loud minority on social media, which of course many of us, including big organisations, listen to much too much, as if it's representative, as if it's an authority, which of course it isn't. They're trying to be inoffensive, but by being inoffensive, they make themselves look, they become lampooned. It's ludicrous to the point that if you want to extend this to the nth degree, imagine you're in a British Airways plane and the awful scenario takes place where the plane goes down in the sea. I mean, seriously, what we're now saying, I presume, is that we can't do the whole women and children first, because that would offend non-binary people. So where does this stop? Where does this stop? And British Airways, in all their ambition to be right on and woke and not to offend anybody, have they thought this through? I mean, clearly not.
As I say, I'm sure they haven't really thought through the fact that the majority of their customers will find this announcement pathetic and irritating.
Well, and the other interesting thing is when you kind of search around for what they're actually now going to say, I think the term ladies and gentlemen is quite elegantly formal, if you like. I think it's a nice way of addressing an audience. The alternative seems to be to say, hey, everyone, which is much less sophisticated and elegant, isn't it? So are we going to get a situation where people start to be addressed as, hey, you, and oi, and people? I mean, it becomes so inelegant, doesn't it? Because we're trying to dumb down, this kind of, this political kind of razor blade of offence from the point of view of some people. But by doing so, you're going to have British Airways, which, as you say, is the carrier of this nation, the airline of this nation, effectively being a little bit more rough and ready when it comes to greeting their customers on board. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good point, Russell. It could be argued that by extracting the term ladies and gentlemen from their discourse, British Airways is being rather rude.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really informal and a bit abrasive. And, I don't want to be addressed as, hey, you, or hey, everyone, or, good afternoon, people. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, it's so bland. It's so anonymizing. It's so discourteous, isn't it? I think most of us, even the 1% that are choosing to identify as non-binary, surely they will see the greeting ladies and gentlemen in the kind of the elegant, sophisticated, courteous way that it's meant. I mean, as you say, who on earth is going to be offended? Nobody.
If you're non-binary, or you're identifying as non-binary and you don't identify as either a lady or a gentleman, I'm sure you're grown up enough to accept that ladies and gentlemen is a pretty well-used generic term. So the other thing British Airways is assuming that anybody from the section of society who don't consider themselves to be ladies or gentlemen, in other words, non-binary people, British Airways is assuming that those people are so childish that they will be mortally offended by the use of the term ladies and gentlemen. Well, they won't be, will they?
No. Well, and also, look, surely everyone with half a brain realizes that to be offended, the person that has seemingly said what they've said to offend you has to have some kind of intention to offend, if you see what I mean. So, if I say something and obviously I've misspoken, and I didn't mean to say something offensive, but it's offensive, well, it's not the end of the world, is it? And I don't think anybody sat on a 747 or whatever they are these days, a 737 to New York, that gets addressed as a lady or a gentleman, or in the plural, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think anybody's going to see that in any way as deliberately trying to offend non-binary people. I mean, that is clearly not the case, is it? Clearly not the case.
Or for that matter, children. As I say, I think this is a childish announcement on British Airways' part, and doesn't respect people who don't want to be called ladies and gentlemen. It's ridiculous. And just on a personal basis, from now on, in all my international travelling, when I get on board an airline, I'm going to make sure it's one of those airlines that still refers to its passengers as ladies and gentlemen. Any airline that considers it so woke it's not going to use that term cannot expect my custom, and I suspect can't expect yours either, Russell. Am I right?
I totally agree, but British Airways are not the only ones doing this.
I know, no, they're the latest on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Air Canada and several others. It's kind of
Air Trudeau.
Air Trudeau.
It would be with him as a prime minister. Yeah. When is the madness going to stop, Russell? But always good to talk. Thank you so much, Russell Quirk, social commentator there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, next up we're going to be talking to Charlie Ray about all matters royal, the latest royal news, particularly that concerning Prince Andrew. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and this is Talk Radio.